You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into STB Sports Take, Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham. Thank you for being here. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. We are there. I do not have the STB Sports Take logo up behind me. Today is sponsored by Tripio. Today is a fun podcast. It's been a while. I was in Panama for a week. We had Halloween. I've just been busy. I went to Arizona for a week. So I have not done a podcast for probably 3 weeks now, so I apologize for that. Today's a fun one, though. I sat down with Bryan Harper, who is the brother of Bryce Harper, who, of course, is the superstar for the Philadelphia Phillies. Just went to the World Series, hit the home run that put the Phillies in the World Series. I met Bryan, so Bryce's brother. I met Bryan in Lake Powell earlier this summer and had a funny run-in. I've talked about that story before. Quick recap. Basically, I didn't know who he was, and he starts talking about how he played in the Nationals Farm League system. And I mentioned I'm a big Nationals fan. And when Bryce Harper comes up, and I say I was kind of glad we won the World Series after he left because I was really bummed that he left us to go to the Phillies. So it was kind of like nice, vindication, if you will, or something, to win the World Series after he left. Like, see, look, we can do it, even without you. So I didn't say anything bad. I love Bryce Harper. He was my favorite player. It's hard for me to have him as my favorite player now that he's not on my favorite team, but he's still one of my favorite players. And he's clearly one of the very best players in the majors. So he starts to try and bait me into a little bit more, and luckily I didn't say anything bad because I really like Bryce Harper quite a bit. I simply was saying it was nice to win the World Series after he left. But anyway, as he's trying to bait me into it, his buddy, Casey Soto, kind of cuts him off and he's like, I can't let this go on any further. Bryce is his brother. So that's how I met Bryan Harper down in Lake Powell. Super cool guy, fantastic baseball player in his own right, a pitcher, lefty, was in the minor league systems for the Nationals as well. Ended up having Tommy John surgery. So we talk about all this stuff. Really great guy. And so let's just dive into the interview right now. All right, and with that, we bring in Bryan Harper into the podcast. This took a lot of humility for Bryan to come in and join such a lowly podcast as this. But Bryan, thank you for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. This will be a good conversation, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. So we want to start. I've actually told my listeners already a little bit about when we met, and you're mentioning being from Vegas, and I don't know if I knew at the time your last name was Harper. I can't remember, but
no.
You're mentioning being from Vegas, and you mentioned playing in the Nationals Farm League, system, and I'm like this big Nationals fan, and so I start talking about Bryce Harper, and I want you to tell the story from your perspective, actually, because I've told it from mine already.
So the biggest thing is when I go into new situations, right? So obviously I was already at PAL. We'd come over to your side. And whenever I come into these situations, I really only say my first name because I want people to just kind of get to know me and, not just, I want them to get to know me, not want to know me because of my last name.
Yes.
So, just kind of explaining who I was, what I've done in the past, what I was doing now. And, obviously that kind of piqued your interest. And, that's when I was like, okay, like I can kind of prod here a little bit, and, of course we get on the subject of Bryce, and I was like, oh yeah, that sucks he left, you just try to downplay it, right? Just to kind of bait you into it a little bit to see what you got. And you were very good, I have to admit. All right. Like it wasn't a hateful thing, right? It was like, I was just excited that we won the, World Series after he left. It was like, we're just being excited as Nationals fans, right? Which I get, right?
And a little bit of, like, I don't know if vindication is the word, but like revenge. Like, it's not like I was mad at Bryce, but it was kind of just like, oh, see, we can do it,
Yeah, exactly. So, which I get, right? It is what it is. And luckily, right? And I think if I would have had maybe a couple more things, I think I would have gotten something out of you, right? But Casey Sato, right? He was there, and he kind of saved you, I have to admit. He must like you as a friend. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that, he did kind of save you, and he was like, "This is Bryce's brother."
Yeah.
And of course, the look on your face was, "What?" Which I'm
Yeah.
such a big face guy, right? Like whenever
Yeah.
like people say something absurd, and then I like look around the room and see everybody's reaction to it, I'm like all about it. I'm like laughing at that guy, that girl, that right, just like
Yeah.
so funny to me. So yeah, no, it was all harmless and good
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, it was my little thing in life that I like to do, just to kind of bait people a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if they get a little ridiculous, then obviously, it's like, hey, you never know who you're talking to, and
Yeah.
type thing. But I don't mean any foul play, but
No,
it's
no. It was very fun. Like that was a very funny moment. So if Bryce happens to see this, Bryce, we love you, bro. And congrats to him. He's doing nothing but hitting home runs, winning MVPs, making tons of money, going to the World Series. So
yeah.
yeah. So let's talk about the World Series. Actually, did you go to any of the games? The one just recently, obviously, with the Phillies.
Yeah. So I mean, my last 8 weeks have been full of travel and just absolute memory building moments.
Yeah.
Went to St. Louis, saw those 2 games there, came back
Awesome.
to Vegas, went to Philly for game 3 and 4 against the Braves,
Wow.
came back to Vegas, drove down to San Diego, watched game 1 and 2 there. Um, didn't end up seeing them in Philly, but I went to Houston
Mhm.
for the first 2, and then went to Philly for the next 3. So
Yeah.
I didn't go to Houston for game 6. I didn't want to, with them being down 3-2, I was just like, nah, I don't feel like putting up with Houston fans.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it wasn't the best for the family sections that they
Really?
had. Yeah, just trying to get out of there after. My parents were there. My sister-in-law, Bryce's wife, was there as well. And they kind of left them high and dry a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, just trying to get out of that area, just because there's so many people, right? And it's
Yeah.
not just the people that are in the stadium, but also the people that are at the bars and things around the area. It was kind of difficult getting out of there for them. So I'm
Wow.
happy that I didn't have to go and deal with that. And,
Yeah.
it wasn't anything bad or anything like that. It's just, it was very chaotic,
Yeah.
as it should be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was in, let's see,
Anybody
I was
hear
in,
any of your family hear any banging of trash cans or anything like that?
no, I don't think so. I think they nipped all that in the butt. So, but no, it was fun, man. That was the first time I've been to a playoff game in my life. And, it's funny because I was at the Braves Phillies series, obviously.
Mhm.
And that was the same Sunday that the Eagles were hosting the Cowboys,
Oh
Sunday
yeah.
Night Football.
Hmm.
Okay. So being from Vegas, we didn't have a football team growing up,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
My dad grew up a Cowboys fan
Okay.
because he was, he's young, and who was good at the time in the 70s? The
Yep.
Cowboys, the Reds, the Lakers, right? So those are
Yep.
all his teams, right? Just
Okay.
being a young kid and liking the
Yeah.
best team, you know?
Yep.
So I grew up, same thing. It was, I wasn't a Reds fan per se. I was more of a Padres fan growing up. I didn't like the Dodgers. So I was like, I'm going to like somebody else on the West Coast, and it would be the Padres. I
Yeah.
liked, Tony Gwynn
Tony
and,
Gwynn. Yeah.
Hoffman. I mean, Trevor Hoffman's the greatest National League closer of all time, because I
Yeah.
think Mariano's the greatest closer of all time. But
Yeah.
if we're going to separate it into leagues, it's Trevor
Yeah.
Hoffman and Mariano. So yeah, it was crazy going into Philly, seeing the fans, and they get such a bad rap as Phillies
Yeah.
fans.
Philly
Okay,
fans do actually. They do.
I'm gonna stand on my soapbox for these people,
Yeah. Let's
because
hear it.
they get a bad rap, but they are some of the most passionate people I have ever been a part of and around when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
Like, been to Chicago, seen Blackhawk games. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been to LA the Kings. I've been to the Ducks. Like hockey wise, I love hockey as it is. So like being around those fan bases, those are really passionate people. But being in Nationals Park, right? Been plenty of those games, right?
Yeah.
They're not a rabid fan base, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way they are, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never been to a Redskins game, so I really don't know about that. I actually was at the Capitals Golden Knights Stanley Cup game 3. So that was fun. But again, it was like, it's nothing like Philly. So
Yeah.
they ended up winning the series on Saturday. I fly out Sunday morning, mid morning, about 11, and flying back, the football game's on with the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching this game, and obviously the Eagles are rolling, and I can't help but root for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Because of all, like, I would just spend 2 days in Philly with all of these fans, and you're just like, dude, I was like, I can't root against them.
Yeah.
So now, and obviously the Eagles are great, you know, and they're playing really well right now. But I'm like,
Really well.
oh man, it's just it's crazy. Like once you're in it, like you truly, it's the whole, you know, you hate the guy that you're playing against because he's an asshole, but you want him on your team because he is an asshole, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You love him, you want him, you want to be that guy, but you hate playing against him, and that's how Philly, man. It's crazy.
So do you still have like love for the Padres, for instance, or have you just, you know, I'm obviously your brother's the star player on the Phillies, so I'm sure that's your team. But if the Padres and Phillies play each other, do you know, does your inner self kind of battle at all?
Yeah. I got to stay with the blood, man.
Yeah,
I can't do that. No, honestly, nowadays I have my Golden Knights. You know, being in Vegas, I have my Carolina Gamecocks.
Nice.
You know, probably the greatest 8 days in quite a long time for South Carolina. So, beating number 5 Tennessee, 7 Tennessee, and then number 8 Clemson. And,
I know, crazy.
It was a fun week for your boys. But no, now it's more, you know, I have a couple allegiances to teams, and obviously where I was getting a paycheck from the Nationals, obviously I was a Nationals fan, and obviously Bryce is now with the Phillies, and I am a full Phillies fan, you know, and obviously I follow other Phillies sports just to kind of see how they're doing. Obviously, you know, watching the 76ers, the Flyers, the Eagles, and things like that. Just because you have ties there now, but I'm more of a players fan. You know, it's the whole fantasy mindset now, you know, for football wise. And then sports wise, it's college football, hockey, NFL, and that's kind of it. I really don't watch NBA. I watch college basketball. I do love that. But yeah, other than that, it's more, you know, respect the greatness of people, and you know, root for them to succeed. So
I'm kind of like that too. I definitely have my favorite teams. You know, I am a Nationals fan. I am a Commanders fan. Gotta still get used to calling them that. But you know, I am a DC sports fan for the most part. I never did get into the Wizards because at the time when I lived there, they were the Bullets, and the Bullets sucked. But there was a team called the Bulls, much like your dad, right? I'm just a young kid choosing the team that's really fun to watch. The Bulls had a similar name as the Bullets, and they had a guy named Michael Jordan, so I chose to be a fan of theirs. But now I'm a Jazz fan living in Utah, and if we ever got an NFL or an MLB team, I'm sure I'd root for them. But I just love players, you know, like I just choose a player and I'm like, I like this guy, so wherever he goes, I kind of want to follow that team and root for them, you know. So
and see, that's the other thing too, is like I've got former teammates that are playing in other organizations, guys that I played against that I really enjoyed playing against, like Aaron Judge, right? Like the Nationals minor league system lines up with where the Yankees minor league systems are, right? So a guy like Judge, I faced him as a pitcher, but also he's just such a good dude in general that, you know, walking by him in the tunnels, or walking by him, you know, right before batting practice, after their batting practice, right before ours, you know, he's just a good dude, you know. And I remember I was actually walking, it was I want to say it was actually the day. It was definitely the series that I blew out my elbow. So I had Tommy John
Yep.
2016. But yeah, I actually remember walking out to their bullpen in Scranton Wilkes-Barre. He's playing catch, just past second base, and
Yeah.
I'm walking past him, and I like look at him because he's massive, and I'm not a small dude, right? Like I'm
No,
six
you're not.
five,
Yeah.
I'm tall, everything, and I'm just walking by and I'm just like looking up at him, and I want to like bow up on him because I hate when people are taller than me, which I feel bad for a lot of people because I am taller than everybody. But
Yeah.
I have a short complex, right? So like if somebody's taller than me, I want to like bow up and be like, yo, like back up, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's just like, like walking by him and he's like, what's up, Harp? I was like, nothing much, man. I was like, how we doing? You know what I mean? But like just a good dude. But obviously, Bryce has played with a bunch of guys. When he was growing up, played with Joe Musgrove, and I'm a huge fan of the whole Musgrove family in San
Yeah.
Diego. Um, I was rehabbing in 2017 when the Nationals brought Juan Soto over and
Mm.
signed him, so I got to know him really well. Great guy there. Played against Profar when he was with the Rangers organization. So it's cool to see a lot of these guys that I played against, but also played with growing up, things like that. And Vegas has such a great like baseball um, representation that I mean, it seems like every team has one guy that's tied to Vegas somehow.
Yeah.
Whether it's Tyler Anderson, Paul Sewald, Chasen Shreve, Bryce, obviously,
Yep.
Jake Hager in Arizona. It's just there's just so many. Joey Gallo. I mean, every time I start naming guys, I'm just like, oh, well, this guy and this guy and this.
Yeah.
It's just the way it
Yeah.
works. So
Yep.
it's a lot of fun. So
Yeah. That's awesome. So, you mentioned some stuff I hadn't, we just want to sit and talk about sports, right? But I do want to give the listeners a little bit more of your background, right? So you were a star pitcher, made it into the minor league system, and obviously had a kind of a career-ending surgery, it sounds like, right? But tell us more about that, and then I would love to hear some of the, some of the best players you've pitched against and what that experience was like. Did you get any cool strikeouts? Did you get some home runs hit off you? Like, any stories you've got about that? Just give us some background. And yeah.
okay, so yeah, I went to a junior college here in town, and then transferred out to South Carolina for my junior year. Won a national championship there with them, and that was part of their back-to-back 2010 2011. I was part of the 2011 national
Awesome.
championship, and that was an experience and a half. Obviously, we weren't the most talented team in the SEC, but we were the best team and family, and
Yep.
we didn't lose a game in any of our regionals, super regionals, or even the World Series, and went undefeated and just rolled. So we
Yeah.
we were a
Amazing.
wagon at the time. We could throw our gloves out there. We knew we were going to win. Didn't matter what inning it was, how many runs we were down, how many runs we were up. We were going to win. So
Amazing.
yeah, a lot of fun there. Obviously got drafted to the Nationals. Went through some minor league years and started kind of trending upward in 2015, ended in AAA, went back to AA in Harrisburg 2016, dominated there for about 6 weeks, and then went to AAA and, was kind of on my way up. I was feeling great, throwing a lot of strikes, striking people out, and was up to like 92, 93, touching fours here and there. And,
Wow.
from the left side, being a left-handed reliever, that's pretty dang good. So,
Yeah.
and at the time, they had some struggles from the left side, didn't have the best guys out of there, but they kept giving them the opportunity and kept kind of, hey, you'll be all right, you'll be all right, you'll be all right. And August 6th rolls around and pitching against Scranton Wilkes-Barre and throw one pitch, throw a fastball. I was like, ow, that didn't feel right.
Mm.
Didn't think anything of it. And I was like, okay, well, let's see how this one goes. It was a 2-2 count, ended up throwing another fastball, striking the guy out, getting out of the inning. Go to sit down, and the adrenaline starts draining, right?
Yep.
And here comes the pain, right? Like here comes the tingling in the fingers. Took about a month to see if we could hopefully rehab it. Didn't happen. Ended up having Tommy John November 2nd of 2016.
So explain what that is. I mean, I think most sports fans have heard that term, but what exactly is that surgery?
So it's a ulnar collateral ligament repair, and it's basically this your funny bone nerve.
Yeah.
It runs normally right through here, and that same tingling sensation when you hit your funny bone,
Yep.
that's what you feel when you're just sitting there because you tore it all of a sudden, right? So you just
Yeah.
have that tingling, numbing sensation throughout your hand and forearm. And you can't throw. So anytime you kind of get up to here and like it tilts back, it just shoots pain. It's like
Ooh.
somebody stabbing something in there. So
Wow.
yeah, they actually take a ligament from inside here, and then they go in, take out the old one, go and put the other one in, and then sometimes they move the nerve, sometimes they don't. They did move my nerve over to the other side of the elbow,
Yeah.
uh, just to kind of free it up because sometimes that'll get lodged in between your bones in there, in between
Yeah.
the joint. But yeah, they just, something that was, groundbreaking in, want to say the 70s.
Yeah.
I want to say, I think, it was Curlin Job who started it. And then obviously, Dr. Andrews down in the South Alabama area. Yeah. They were kind of the forefront of it. And Neil Elatrosh, who learned under Curlin Job, our Dr. Job was my doctor, and he actually did Bryce's surgery last week.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, it's a life-changing thing, obviously, because you're able to continue throwing. I think I had it too late.
Yeah.
I had it at 28, 29, kind of lost my year, and then spent another year in Double A. Wasn't really, mechanically sound. Taking 18 months off and then trying to pick it up again is difficult.
Yeah.
It wasn't the easiest, and it is what it is. But played one more year in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in indie ball. Had a great time there with some great guys, but it was kind of more of an experimental league.
Yeah.
Um, Seeing a lot of the new rules that they're actually implementing this year. Didn't like the way it was going. Didn't
Yeah.
think it was baseball. I mean, the second half we had guys stealing first base.
What?
Yeah. So and
Wait, explain that because I haven't
so
heard this.
okay, so you're up to bat. There's nobody on first,
Yep.
and pitcher throws a pass ball. If you think you can get to first before the catcher goes and gets it, you can steal first base.
So does
So
that count? What does that count as? And it's not an at bat. It's not a walk. It's just a
I think it's just a dead AB. Yeah.
wow.
It's like a hit by pitch.
That's actually
Yeah.
really stupid.
Yeah. So you got that in the second half. I wasn't able to pick over to first base being left-handed. I had to actually step off on the backside of the rubber to be able to pick over. They limited the amount of times I could pick over as well. I think it was 2, which that's what they're doing now. But I wasn't able to lift my leg and just like step over and pick.
Yeah.
Left-hander, right? So I had to step off and
They're
like
thinking it's too much of an advantage because you don't have to turn your body. Is that the idea? It's like too easy or something?
I think they just wanted, as soon as you picked up, they wanted everybody to be right-handed, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not baseball, man. Like being left-handed is a perk for a reason.
Are these rules they're trying to like? Are they testing them to potentially implement them into the majors, or what's the deal there?
Yeah, so that's what we were. So in 2019, because that was my year there, Major League Baseball actually purchased the rights to control the Atlantic League, which I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And actually they have now 2 of the teams that were in that league actually in minor league baseball now. So Somerset, New Jersey, and Sugar Land, Texas are actually in minor league baseball affiliated teams now. They came in and were just like, hey, we want to do this, and we'll support your league. Basically, we'll pay some salaries, we'll do things like that, but we want to try these, and not necessarily in minor league baseball, but in an independent setting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were we were the first with robot umpires, right? Which
Mm.
was absolutely the worst thing ever, because you could
Yeah.
throw a fastball right down the middle and you'd get balled. The umpire could not do anything about it. But then you throw say I'd throw a slider, right? I throw a
Yeah.
slider, it's down in the dirt, catcher, drops and blocks, umpire, strike 3. Like, we literally had situations like that where, like, our radar thing, whatever it was, TrackMan, it wasn't working. So
Wow.
literally, like, we would have balls that were strikes and strikes that were balls.
Yeah, that's tough.
So
That's
that's
tough to play
why
those
I'll
circumstances.
never agree with robot umpires, because if
Yeah.
you look at it, doesn't matter. Let's take the worst umpire in the league, okay? Angel Hernandez. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no dispute about that. And
Yeah.
if Angel Hernandez hears this, he knows it. He's the
Yeah.
worst.
Yeah.
Okay. On his worst day, he's still 95% right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think on the Sunday night baseball game that they had, I think he was like 92.
Yeah.
Okay. That's 8% that he messed up.
So what do you think the robots were doing?
You look at a lot of these umpires, right? They have the umpire scores that they put out now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You can go through and look, and all these guys, 98, 99, 97, right? Like, dude, I'll take 97% all day. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, the problem is we're putting the box on the TV, which I noticed this year is, I think Fox actually took theirs down,
Really?
which I appreciate, right?
Yeah.
As a fan, like, because now you're seeing being like, is that a strike? Right? Like, hey, the umpire called it, right? Like, that's a strike.
Yeah.
That's where it's at today.
Yep.
But yeah, it was kind of tough. So yeah, I think that's ultimately what made me kind of step away. I was just like, this ain't baseball, bro. Like, I ain't doing it. So
yeah, it's tough.
But yeah.
So we got to ask the question: if you in your prime before your surgery, we'll say, pitch to Bryce, what's that going to look like?
Well, being a left-handed reliever and being the competitor I am, I'll get him out. Like, that's just confidence in myself, right?
Yeah.
So I faced him in junior college, because we both played at CSN together.
Yeah.
Here in Vegas, and he'll say he hit a double. I'll tell him he hit a pop up to left that our left fielder misplayed and should have been caught. But that's the competitors in both of us. So
yeah.
So right now he's this year it was tough for a lot of people this year. So,
yeah.
And last year too. So last year was the MVP, and then this year he was trending, man. It was fun to watch, man. There were, besides him, he doesn't get hit against Blake Snell in San Diego in June, man. I think it's a done deal again, man. And you saw it in the playoffs. He had that 2-week gap of kind of getting his timing back of last 2 weeks of the season, and then it was floodgates open, bro. Like, it was fun to watch, man. So
talk about that moment. There was a moment, obviously, he hits the home run that basically sends the Phillies to the World Series, right? And the clip goes viral. It's just like the announcer's like, that's the greatest hit of his life, or greatest. I can't remember exactly what he said, but talk about that moment for you, as his brother, and then maybe anything that he shared with you about that moment, because that was like an iconic sports moment.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's surreal when you see something like that, but like, I feel like I'm in the same spot as all the other guys, right, on the team. And, would you expect anything less?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's gotten to that point, even watching him grow up and doing the same things. It's like, okay, that's just Bryce, dude. Like,
yeah,
you expect that out of him. And, it's the whole Kobe thing, it's Michael Jordan thing, right? Like, who do you want to have the ball when the game's playing, right? Yeah, I want Kobe and I want Mike. That's the guys that I want, right?
Yeah.
Who do I want up at the plate with the game on the line? Bryce.
Yeah.
100%, right? Who do I want the ball in their hands with 2 minutes left, down a touchdown? Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's who I want.
Yep.
So it's greatness out of them, man. They're and it's just it was a little surreal, and then you kind of step back from it and you're like, duh, Bryan, like, of course like, so yeah, it's a proud moment, no doubt. And it's fun to, get reached out from friend or reached out to from friends and things like
Yeah.
that. Just the former teammates of mine that are just like, dude, he's on another level right now. I mean, Casey
Yeah.
was the whole series, the whole playoffs basically, because we know when Bryce is locked in, he's going the opposite field, right?
Yep.
And of course, that home run goes oppo, and Casey immediately texts me. He's like, when are these dudes going to learn? They're idiots. They're so stupid. Why do they keep pitching to them? He's like, when are they going to learn? I'm just like, they don't, dude. They think they can get them out. They can't. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a pretty awesome moment. Pretty awesome moment. So we've got I've got this countdown timer ticking down. So we got like 5 minutes left here. But you had a cool story you shared with me in Lake Powell about just playing with Bryce in Vegas, right? And I guess his year before going into the major leagues or the minor league system or the major league system. But you had I can't remember the exact story, but I just remember being like, wow, that's freaking awesome. It was about like the size of the crowd and like just the feel.
Oh, yeah.
So if you could just maybe briefly
Yeah.
share that story, that's a cool one.
Yeah, so we come in junior college baseball. I actually transferred back from Cal State Northridge after my freshman year. Wasn't happy there.
Yep.
Ended up, I didn't want to sit out a year, go to another D1, sit out a year. Didn't want to deal with that. So obviously, I was able to go to junior college baseball, nationally ranked, amazing team in College of Southern Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
We had two other kickbacks, Aaron Kirks from Arizona or from Air Force and Donnie Roach from Arizona. And then obviously Bryce comes in like July and August. So I already knew I was coming back. He ends up coming, getting his GED from high school. And we just have this great team, right? Immediate family, bunch of Vegas guys, bunch of Utah guys, couple Arizona guys. Just awesome team.
Yeah.
Where I met Casey Sato as well. He was our return missionary dad of the team. So opening night comes, we're playing, I believe it was Chipola out of Florida, another nationally ranked team. And we're expecting, it's like 40 degrees and windy in Vegas, right? In January. Yeah. It's very, very cold. It sucks. Florida or January and February are very, very windy months here in Vegas. It sucks. Mm-hmm. We walk out of the clubhouse and this place is packed from one side to the other. And it is literally from dugout to dugout with our stands.
Yeah.
And it's absurd. We're like, are you kidding me? Right? Like all of the scouts that are there, like all the front office guys that are there, right? Yeah. None of the spring training have started yet. So all they're there. And it's like, dude, I'm getting chills right now thinking about it. Like it was a madhouse. Like we had 5,000 to 6,000 people there, like opening night. And wow. It's crazy. Like standing room only all the way down the line, like all the way down the other line. Like anybody that could get past some of the security, like family members or friends, things like that. Yeah. Just lined with people. And it was crazy, man. And we carried that throughout the whole year. Anytime we had a good team coming in, whether it was Central Arizona or Yavapai or Reno coming down to us. Slick came down, brought a bunch of fans with them.
Yeah. How old is Bryce at this time? Is he 18 yet, or is he still 17?
No, so he was 17. So he should have been a junior in high school. Yeah. Ended up winning the Gold Spikes that year. Best player in all of college baseball. Yeah. But yeah, we end up taking third in the College World or the Junior College World Series, and I think it's pretty cool that I actually played in the Junior College World Series, and NCAA College World Series. Yep. Obviously, would have loved to play in a Major League World Series. That'd have been pretty cool to have 3 of them. But obviously, I got Bryce, and he played. So he got a Junior College World Series, and obviously a Big League World Series. So.
Yep. Well, I'm rooting for him to get back there and win one. Especially against the freaking Astros, man. I hate them, but
I think you're speaking to the choir, right? Or preaching to the choir on that one. I think a lot. So.
The World Series I went to as a fan, just to clarify for anyone thinks I played, but it was the Nationals and the Astros, and that was the year that the home team lost every game, and so I went to 2 of the games in DC, and of course the Nationals lost both of them, but I was glad to see the Nationals beat the Astros, and they were especially hated then because it was fresh off of the cheating, and but now it's like more confirmed that they were blatantly cheating. It feels like they should have gotten a steeper penalty than they got. It's just very bizarre that they were able to do that. Well, I mean, as a pitcher, and we've only got a minute and a half, unfortunately, but as a pitcher, what's your take on that? Because it feels like if a professional hitter knows what pitch is coming, like, come on, like, of course they're going to be able to get hits, right?
Yeah. I mean, they still got to see it and hit it, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of them knowing it's coming. If they know it's coming, though, they're going to have definitely an advantage. You look at live BPs that they throw before spring training, things like that. All pitchers call and what's coming. And but I mean, you look at batting practice, right? Like they know it's coming, right? Just a little BP fastball, and they're still not getting it.
Yeah.
So still got to see the ball and hit the ball. But yeah, it's definitely an advantage if they can set on a pitch, and you saw that in Altuve and Chapman. He knew that pitch coming, and he took him deep. So
is that the one where he's coming around third base, like grabbing his jersey, like, no, don't take my jersey off. Don't want anyone seeing the buzzer underneath here. Yeah, it's too bad. Well, dude, this has been really fun. I appreciate you coming on, and you'll have to tell Bryce that we love him and we're rooting for him to get back to the World Series and win it.
All right, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
So that is Bryan Harper, everybody. Great guy. What a fun interview that was. Hopefully we can have him back on sometime soon. That's all the time I have for today. We're going to talk more next week, more back into NFL stuff, college football. We've got the Utes down in the Pac-12 championship game this week. We'll see how that goes. But that's all the time we have for today. I am out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out STBSportsTake.com. Simply the best in sports.
'Cause we are warriors.